The world has heard countless tales of heaven, its light, its harmony, its perfection, but few know the story of the day it nearly fell, the day the golden gates shattered, the day the lost legion returned from the void, and the day an ancient entity older than angels, older than heaven itself, reached out through a rip in reality to reclaim what was once stolen from it. This is the hidden chapter of celestial history, buried, forbidden, erased from every divine record. At the center of it stands Azarion, captain of the First Legion, unknowingly carrying within him the first light, the primordial spark that shaped creation. When the Abyssal Oracle awakens, demanding the return of that divine essence, heaven plunges into its greatest war. Angels fall from the sky, towers collapse, prophecies ignite, and Azarion must choose between survival and destiny. What truly lies beyond the golden gates? Why did the lost legion vanish for 1,000,000 ages? And what is the first light? Really? You're about to witness a story that blends cosmic mystery, celestial warfare, and the rebirth of heaven's greatest secret. If epic angelic sagas fascinate you, hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Do you believe Azarion's power is a blessing or a curse waiting to unfold? Your answer may shape the next chapter. The first crack in heaven was not a sound, it was a silence. For ages beyond mortal counting, heaven had stood unbroken, its golden towers rising endlessly into skies woven with eternal light. The celestial choir sang harmonies that shaped the flow of all creation, and the golden gates, those colossal arches forged by the breath of God himself, shone brighter than 1,000 dawns. Nothing had ever threatened them. Nothing had ever dared. Until today. It began with a tremor so subtle that most angels dismissed it as the shifting of distant stars. But to Azarion, captain of the First Legion, it was an omen. Standing atop the high battlements of the celestial citadel, his silver armor reflecting rivers of sacred light, he felt the vibration echo through his bones. His great white wings folded behind him as he turned his gaze toward the horizon. And there it was, a single fracture, thin as a hairline crack, running down the center of the golden gates. Azarion's heart froze. He had seen wars before, rebellions of fallen angels, storms of demon legions, cosmic battles fought in forgotten eras, but never had he witnessed damage to the gates. They were the first creation, the anchor of heaven's existence. If they fell, everything else would follow. He rushed down the spiraling ivory steps, each footstep echoing with urgency. When he reached the gate plaza, dozens of angels had already gathered, murmuring in confusion. Their voices were uneasy, trembling with fear. Even the younger angels who had never known war felt the unnatural disturbance lingering in the air. Then the second tremor hit, and this one was violent. The crack expanded with a thunderous roar. Blinding light burst out from the fissure, scattering feathers across the plaza like snow. Angels shielded their eyes as a wave of raw divine energy blasted outward. Azarion stood firm. He approached the gates as the light dimmed and placed his armored hand on the broken surface. His palm tingled with heat, not warm like sunlight, but burning with unstable power, as if something ancient and furious was trying to force its way through. And then he heard it, a whisper, faint, echoing, impossible. Open the way! Azarion stepped back, heart pounding. No voice could speak through the golden gates. No being, mortal, celestial, or damned, should be able to reach them from the outside. The gates were sealed not only by divine metal, but by the very laws of heaven. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Before he could call for reinforcements, the gates shuddered violently. Cracks branched across their surface like spider webs of light. The ground split open beneath Azarion's feet, exposing molten streams of divine energy. The entire plaza shook. Angels screamed. Some were thrown into the air by the force of the blast. Others tried to fly, only to be slammed back down by shockwaves of chaotic energy. The golden towers surrounding the plaza flickered as if struggling to maintain form. And then, the unthinkable happened. The golden gates shattered. A sound like the death cry of a star ripped across heaven. A rain of molten gold and fractured light exploded outward. Azarian covered his face with his wings as the shockwave tore through everything around him. When he opened his eyes, the gates were gone. In their place was a gaping void, an endless abyss where no abyss should exist. A swirling vortex of darkness and blue flame churned violently, pulling debris, feathers, and even shards of divine architecture into its depths. The light of heaven dimmed around it as if being devoured. Azarian staggered forward, breath shaking. Out of the void, shapes began to emerge. Not demons, not fallen angels, something older, something forgotten. Figures made of shadow and fractured light, wearing broken celestial armor, limped toward the plaza, souls twisted by some ancient catastrophe. Their hollow eyes burned with a cold hunger. Their wings, once angelic, were now shredded into blackened tatters. The Lost Legion. Angels erased from existence during the first cataclysm. Beings who should not exist. Azarian's blood ran cold. He drew his radiant blade as the first of the Lost Legion stepped onto heaven's soil for the first time in 1,000,000 ages. Behind him, the remaining angels struggled to regroup. Bells rang across the celestial citadel, a sound not heard since the rebellion of Lucifer. The fall had begun. Heaven was under attack from within the void itself. Azarian spread his wings, eyes blazing. "For heaven," he whispered. Then he charged into the storm. The celestial bells thundered across the heavens, their echoes shaking the very foundations of the eternal realm. From every tower, sanctuary, and training hall, angels rose into the air, wings beating urgently as they raced toward the Golden Gate Plaza. But by the time they arrived, the sight that greeted them didn't just inspire fear, it shattered their understanding of what heaven was. The Golden Gates were gone. Azarian stood at the forefront of the chaos, wings spread wide, radiant blade glowing with fierce blue fire. Around him, the plaza was a battlefield of broken marble, drifting ash, and swirling divine storms. But nothing commanded the attention of the angels more than the figures emerging from the void. The Lost Legion, once heroes of heaven, now twisted into something unrecognizable. Their armor was fractured like shattered glass, glowing faintly with corrupted celestial energy. Their once pure wings were withered, torn, and discolored. Some dragged broken weapons, others moved with unnatural jerks, like marionettes pulled by invisible strings. Their faces, those faces, were the worst of all. Hollow eyes glowing with cold blue flame, devoid of will, emotion, or memory. "Stand down!" Azarian shouted, raising his voice above the storm. "These are our brothers!" He hesitated. One of the Lost Legion lunged toward him, its mouth opening in a silent scream. The creature swung a warped halberd, dripping with unstable energy. Azarian barely parried in time, sparks flying as the two forces collided. The creature staggered backward, its head twitching violently before it launched itself forward again, faster and stronger than before. "No," Azarian whispered. "They're not our brothers anymore." Hundreds more emerged behind it, climbing from the vortex like spirits escaping a tomb. Each one radiated a different kind of corruption. Some burned with blue flame, some with black mist, and some flickered between forms as though they were trapped between dimensions. A sudden explosion of light split the battlefield as Seraphiel, one of the highest-ranking archangels, slammed into the ground beside Azarian. Her golden armor was cracked, her wings tattered from the shockwave that destroyed the gates. "Azarian!" she shouted. "What happened here?" he didn't take his eyes off the advancing army. The gates shattered. A voice called from the other side. And now, this. Seraphiel's eyes widened as she recognized the twisted face of a former ally staggering toward them. Impossible. The Lost Legion was consumed in the first cataclysm. There's no path back. There wasn't. Azarian growled, tightening his grip on his blade. Something opened one. Before Seraphiel could respond, a roar ripped across the plaza. A giant of the Lost Legion, towering, monstrous, its armor fused with corrupted stone, charged forward. Its wing stumps flailed violently as it swung a massive slab of broken gate metal like a weapon. "Down!" Seraphiel shouted. The two angels dodged as the metal crashed into the ground, cracking open a molten fissure. The heat burst upward, bathing everything in harsh red light. Azarian soared upward, wings bursting into radiant light as he flew over the giant's head. He drove his blade downward, slicing through corrupted armor. The giant staggered but did not fall. Instead, it grabbed him mid-air with a clawed hand and hurled him across the plaza. Azarian hit a marble pillar with enough force to shatter it. "Azarian!" Seraphiel cried. But he was already standing, wings flaring, eyes burning with renewed determination. "This ends now!" Seraphiel nodded. Together, they launched themselves toward the giant again, one striking high, one striking low. At last, with a final pulse of blue fire, the twisted titan collapsed, its corrupted light extinguishing like a dying star. But the victory was short-lived. The vortex behind them pulsed violently again, and then expanded. Lightning tore through the sky. The celestial clouds turned black. Every angel felt the temperature drop as something immense stirred beyond the breach. The Lost Legion stopped advancing all at once, as if commanded by an invisible master. Then a voice echoed, not from the sky, but from the void. "Return what was stolen." The entire plaza shook. Azarian's breath hitched. He had heard that voice once before, long ago in the ancient records of the first cataclysm. It belonged not to an angel, not to a demon, but to a being older than both. A being so powerful that heaven had sealed it away beyond existence. Seraphiel trembled. It can't be. The Abyssal Oracle. Azarian finished her sentence, voice cold. The one that even God himself locked away. The vortex widened further, collapsing reality around its edges. The Lost Legion stepped aside, forming two symmetrical lines, as if preparing to announce the arrival of their master. Azarian tightened his grip. "We need to stop whatever is coming through." Seraphiel looked at him with fear she had never shown before. "You can't stop this. We have to try. Even if we do, every prophecy warns that the breaking of the gates marks the end of our era. This is the beginning of the fall." Azarian exhaled slowly. "Then the fall will start with me standing." Before he could act, light exploded behind them as a new figure descended from the upper heavens. An angel with wings like blazing stars, armor glowing with pure white fire. The Archangel Razion, warden of the celestial wall. He landed with a crash, dust and light swirling around him. "Azarian, Seraphiel, fall back." Azarian refused. "We can't abandon the gate." Razion's eyes glowed fiercely. "You don't understand. This is no longer a breach." He pointed toward the vortex, now twisting violently like a living throat swallowing the sky. "This is an invasion." The Lost Legion roared as one, and the Abyssal Oracle's voice whispered again, "Heaven will fall, and the first light will burn." Azarian's wings flared as he raised his blade. Then he spoke the words that would ignite the greatest war heaven had ever seen. "Then let it begin." The sky of heaven no longer shone with eternal radiance. It churned with storms of black flame and fractured light, twisting violently as the vortex widened. Every angel in the celestial realm felt the shift, the collapse of the old order, the birth of something terrible. The fall of heaven was no longer a prophecy. It was happening. Azarian stared into the spiraling abyss, the gateway that had replaced the once sacred golden gates. The lost legion stood in formation, their hollow eyes fixed on the widening breach. They were not merely soldiers, they were conduits, puppets of the Abyssal Oracle. Behind Azarian, thousands of angels assembled in the air, the Silver Guard, the Dawn Flight, the Seraphic Choir, the Thunder Legion. Wings of white, gold, and blue filled the sky. But despite their numbers, fear rippled through them like a contagious shadow. Razion, the blazing archangel warden, stepped forward, his armor glowing like molten stars. "Azarian," he said quietly. "When we strike together." Azarian nodded, but his eyes remained fixed on the vortex. It was pulsing, breathing, and then it opened wider. A colossal hand made of shadow and celestial fragments reached through, gripping the torn edges of the breach. The hand alone was larger than the entire plaza. The air cracked under the pressure of its arrival. Then the Abyssal Oracle emerged. It was monstrous, but not in the way mortals imagine monsters. Its form shifted constantly, sometimes a giant of pure shadow, sometimes a colossal angel with broken wings, sometimes a storm of shrieking faces. Its eyes, however, never changed. Two spirals of blue flame, turning endlessly, consuming everything they gazed upon. Angels cried out in terror. The lost legion dropped to their knees as though worshipping their master. Razion roared, "All legions, form the wall!" Tens of thousands of angels aligned in the sky, wings overlapping, shields raised. A radiant barrier of light surged across the heavens, creating a shining dome of pure celestial force. The oracle stretched its massive hand toward the barrier. The barrier cracked almost immediately. Azarian felt the shock wave in his bones. The force was unimaginable. The oracle wasn't attacking with power alone. It was attacking with history, with memories older than heaven's foundations. The oracle spoke again, its voice booming through the entire realm. "Return, the first light." The angels faltered. The first light was a myth, God's first creation, a cosmic spark said to hold the blueprint of existence itself. But Azarian knew something others didn't, because he had seen the first light once, only once during his ascension ceremony. It was inside him, not metaphorically, literally. The first light burned in his chest, fused with his spirit when he was chosen to lead the First Legion. That was why the Oracle had returned. He swallowed hard. If the Oracle took it from him, the universe would unravel. Razion noticed his fear. "Azarion, what aren't you telling me?" Azarion clenched his jaw. "The Oracle seeks the first light, and it's within me." Razion's expression shifted from disbelief to dread. Before he could speak, the Oracle struck. A beam of twisted celestial energy, blue, black, and white, exploded from its chest, destroying the barrier instantly and sending thousands of angels hurtling through the air. Razion crashed into a tower, shattering it. Seraphiel tumbled across the plaza, wings scorched. Host after host fell like divine meteors. Azarion alone remained standing, protected only by the first light glowing inside him. The oracle's eyes focused on him. Azarion raised his sword, his wings spread wide. He felt the light pulse faster, answering the oracle's call. The oracle reached for him. Azarion launched himself upward, flying straight into the giant hand. He sliced through 3 fingers, each cut releasing explosions of broken light. The oracle roared, its form distorting into a cyclone of rage. The lost legion surged forward. Azarion spun midair, blade blazing with blue fire as he cut them down. But there were too many, hundreds, thousands, twisted, relentless, unfeeling. Razion returned to the sky with a blazing cry. "Azarion, draw it out, we will hold the line!" The angels rallied, forming wave after wave in the sky. clashing against the lost legion in an explosion of feathers and shadows. The heavens trembled with the force of the battle. Light and darkness collided like thunderstorms colliding across eternity. Azarian soared toward the oracle, dodging its massive limbs as they warped and reformed. He dived toward its chest, aiming for the swirling core of light. A voice echoed in his mind, the first light speaking for the first time. "Do not strike! Merge!" Azarian hesitated. "Merge!" The oracle's hand closed around him, crushing him like a fist around a flame. Pain exploded through his body. Razion screamed from below. "Azarian!" The light spoke again. "Become what you were meant to be!" Azarian let go of the fear. Let go of the pain, and let the light ignite. His entire body erupted into blinding brilliance. The oracle recoiled in agony as radiant fire surged from Azarian's core, tearing its form apart, not destroying it, transforming it. The oracle's spirals of blue flame changed, softened. The shrieking faces in its body silenced. The swirling darkness dimmed. Azarian's light washed over it like a rising sun burning away centuries of madness. The oracle fell to its knees. For the first time in a million ages, it looked peaceful. The lost legion collapsed, released from torment. Their armor cracked open, and their souls rose to the sky in streams of shimmering silver. Razion stared upward, eyes wide. Seraphiel whispered in awe, "He healed it!" As the oracle faded into light, its final whisper drifted through the heavens. "Thank you. First light." And then it was gone. The vortex closed. The sky cleared. The towers brightened. Heaven exhaled. Azarian fell from the sky, landing hard on the marble below. Razion rushed to him, lifting his head gently. "Azarian, stay with me!" His wings flickered weakly. "I am still here," Azarian whispered, smiling faintly. "The light remains." Seraphiel knelt beside him, tears shining. "You saved us all." Azarian closed his eyes as the first light receded into a quiet glow in his heart. "No, we saved heaven together." Above them, the sky shone bright again, reborn after its darkest hour. The fall of heaven had become its salvation.